The champagne flutes clinked together in my beautifully decorated living room. Pink and gold balloons floated against the ceiling. A 3-tier diaper cake stood proudly on the dining table next to trays of finger sandwiches and petit fours. 30 women laughed and chatted, celebrating the imminent arrival of my first child. I should have been happy. I should have been glowing with that maternal radiance everyone kept telling me I had. Instead, I stood frozen in the hallway outside my own bathroom, my hand pressed against my swollen belly, listening to 2 voices that made my blood run cold. "God, I can't wait for this charade to be over," the first voice said. It was familiar, sweet, the voice of my best friend since college, Melissa. "Just a few more weeks, babe. Once she delivers, the baby will keep her busy, and I'm all yours." That was my husband of 6 years, James Mitchell. I pressed myself against the wall, hidden by the half-open bathroom door. Through the crack, I could see them. James had Melissa pressed against the hallway wall, his hand on her waist, his lips dangerously close to hers. "What if she finds out?" Melissa whispered, but she was smiling. She was enjoying this. "She won't. Claire's too trusting, too busy with her pregnancy and her law practice. She doesn't suspect a thing." My name is Claire Hartwell Mitchell, 34 years old, senior partner at Hartwell & Associates, the law firm my father built before he passed away 3 years ago. And apparently, I was the most naive woman in Manhattan. "And the money?" Melissa asked. "When does she get the trust fund?" James laughed quietly. "The day after the baby's born. $5 million from her grandmother's estate. All we have to do is wait." "We've been waiting for 9 months, James. I'm tired of being the secret." "I know, baby. I know. But think about it. Once the trust fund hits, I'll file for divorce. New York is no fault. I'll claim irreconcilable differences. With a newborn, she'll be too exhausted to fight properly. My lawyer says I could walk away with at least half the trust, plus alimony, since she makes more than me." I felt my knees weaken. The baby kicked hard as if she knew her mother's world was crumbling. "And then?" Melissa's voice was hungry. "Then you and I get everything we deserve. The apartment in Tribeca, the house in the Hamptons, the life we've been planning. Claire will be too busy being a single mother to even notice we're living her dream life." They kissed. Right there, 10 feet from where 30 women celebrated my impending motherhood. They kissed with the passion of people who'd been doing this for a long time. I backed away, slowly, carefully, my hand over my mouth to stifle the sound, trying to escape. My heart hammered so hard I thought everyone in the living room would hear it. "Claire, sweetie, where did you go?" My mother's voice called from the living room. "It's time to open gifts." I forced myself to breathe, forced myself to arrange my face into something resembling normalcy. When I walked back into the living room, I was smiling. A perfect smile, the smile of a woman who hadn't just heard her entire life revealed as a lie. "I'm here, Mom. Just needed a moment." James and Melissa emerged from the hallway seconds later, completely composed. James came to stand beside me, his hand resting on the small of my back, the same hand that had just been on Melissa's waist. "There's my beautiful wife," he said, kissing my temple. The performance was flawless. Melissa sat on the sofa, crossing her legs elegantly. She caught my eye and smiled. That same smile she'd given me 1,000 times over 12 years of friendship. How had I never seen the snake behind it? Before I continue, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. I love hearing from you. And if this story resonates with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. I opened gifts in a daze, a designer stroller from my colleagues at the firm, a cashmere baby blanket from my mother, a crystal mobile from Melissa. "For my goddaughter," Melissa said sweetly. "I can't wait to be part of her life." The room filled with awes and applause. Nobody knew. Nobody suspected. They saw a loving best friend, a devoted husband, a blessed mother-to-be. Only I knew the truth. The party ended at 4. James helped clean up, playing the perfect husband. He stacked plates, threw away wrapping paper, smiled at my mother's compliments about how lucky I was to have him. "I'll take the trash down," he said, grabbing 3 bags. "You should rest, Claire. You look pale." As soon as the door closed behind him, I moved. My legal training kicked in, overriding the emotional chaos. Evidence. I needed evidence. I went to our bedroom and opened James's laptop. He'd left it unlocked, probably in his rush to get ready for the shower. I navigated to his email with shaking hands. There they were, hundreds of emails between James and Melissa. going back 18 months, before I was even pregnant. Can't wait to have you all to myself, one from Melissa read. Just need to be patient while she has the baby. Then you're mine. The trust fund changes everything, James had written. 5 million is worth playing the doting husband for a few more months. Do you even love her? Melissa had asked. I loved her father's money, James replied. The rest is just convenient. I photographed everything with my phone. Every email, every text message I could access, every damning word. Then I heard the apartment door open. James was back. I closed the laptop and lay down on the bed, arranging myself as if I'd been resting. My mind was racing, but my face remained calm. How are you feeling? James asked, sitting beside me. Tired, I said. It wasn't a lie. The shower was beautiful. Everyone loves you. He stroked my hair with what might have looked like tenderness. We're going to be such a great family. I looked at him, really looked at him. James Mitchell, 42 years old, marketing consultant, handsome in that generically attractive way with his sandy hair and blue eyes. We'd met at a charity gala 6 years ago. He'd pursued me relentlessly, and I'd been charmed by his attention. My father had died 6 months after our wedding. James had been so supportive through my grief, helping me take over the firm, managing household affairs so I could focus on work. I thought I was lucky. James, I said carefully, can I ask you something? Anything. Do you love me? He didn't hesitate. Of course I do. Why would you ask that? Just hormones, I said, forcing a smile. Making me emotional. He kissed my forehead. You're going to be an amazing mother, Claire. Our daughter is so lucky. That night, after James fell asleep, I crept into my home office. I pulled out a yellow legal pad and began writing. Not as a frightened wife, but as what I was trained to be, a lawyer preparing for the fight of her life. Evidence. Email correspondence, 18 months. Text messages. Overheard conversation, my testimony. Financial records showing James's minimal contribution to household expenses. Pre-nuptial agreement, I'd insisted thankfully. Assets. Tribeca apartment, my name only, purchased before marriage. Hampton's house, inherited from father, my name only. Trust fund, not marital property, inherits after birth. Law firm shares, separate property. Joint checking account, minimal $30,000. Timeline. Baby due in 3 weeks. Trust fund releases day after birth. James plans to file for divorce shortly after. My plan. I stopped writing. The baby kicked again, harder this time, as if urging me forward. What was my plan? I could confront them now, scream, cry, throw them both out. But then what? James would lawyer up, he'd spin some story, and I'd be fighting a custody battle while recovering from childbirth, dealing with a newborn, managing my firm. No. I thought about the 4 women whose stories I'd heard, women who'd been betrayed and abandoned. Each had fought back in their own way, some with quiet dignity, others with calculated revenge. I would do both. I picked up my phone and called someone I hadn't spoken to in years. The phone rang 3 times. Claire? The voice was surprised. It's 2 a.m. Marcus, I need your help. Marcus Chen had been a law school classmate, now a private investigator specializing in infidelity cases. And I need it to be completely confidential. What's going on? My husband is having an affair with my best friend. They're planning to divorce me right after I give birth to steal half of my inheritance trust fund. Silence. Then, I'll be at your office first thing Monday morning. Don't do anything until we talk. Thank you. Claire, are you okay? I looked down at my belly, at the daughter growing inside me, the daughter who would never know her father as anything but a weekend visitor if I had anything to say about it. I will be, I said. The next 3 weeks were the longest performance of my life. I smiled at James over breakfast. I held his hand at prenatal appointments. I let Melissa come over to discuss godmother duties, watching her sit on my furniture, drink from my glasses, all while planning to steal my life. You're glowing, Melissa said one afternoon, her hand on my belly, feeling the baby kick. She's going to be so loved. Yes, I agreed. By the people who actually deserve to love her. Melissa missed the edge in my voice, or maybe she just didn't care. Marcus worked quickly. Within a week, he'd provided me with surveillance photos of James and Melissa at restaurants, entering hotels, kissing in parking garages. He'd also traced their digital footprint, finding evidence of a joint bank account they'd opened in Melissa's name, where James had been funneling money from our joint account for months. He's been planning this for at least 2 years, Marcus told me during one of our secret meetings at a coffee shop in Brooklyn, far from anywhere we might be seen. The affair might be 18 months old based on the emails, but the financial planning goes back further. 2 years, I repeated. Before I was even pregnant. I'm sorry, Claire. I wasn't sorry. I was angry. That anger was cold, sharp, and focused. It was fuel. My lawyer, Patricia Simmons, was a bulldog in Prada heels. She'd handled several high-profile divorces in Manhattan and had a reputation for leaving opposing counsel in tears. This prenup is airtight, Patricia said, reviewing the document I'd brought to her office. He gets nothing except what he came into the marriage with, which according to these financial records was basically nothing. Can he claim any right to the trust fund? Absolutely not. It's inherited property and it doesn't vest until after the baby is born. It was never marital property. He has zero claim. And custody? Patricia's expression softened. That's going to be the real fight, Claire. He's the father. Unless we can prove he's unfit. He's planning to divorce me days after I give birth. He's having an affair. He's been stealing from our joint account. He's conspiring with my best friend to defraud me. Is that fit? It's a start, but we need more. We need him to show his true colors in a way a judge can't ignore. I smiled. I have an idea about that. 2 days before my due date, I went into labor. It was 10 at night. James was home, watching television in the living room while I prepared for bed. The first contraction hit me like a freight train. I gasped, clutching the bathroom counter. Claire? James appeared in the doorway. What's wrong? I think it's time. His face went pale. For a second, I saw genuine fear. Then his training kicked in, and he became the concerned husband. Okay, let me get your bag. I'll bring the car around. At New York Presbyterian, the labor was long and difficult. 18 hours of contractions, epidurals, monitors beeping, doctors, consulting in low voices. James held my hand through it all. He wiped sweat from my forehead. He whispered encouragement. He played his part perfectly. At 4:17 p.m., Sophia Claire Mitchell was born. 7 pounds, 4 ounces. Perfect. When they placed her in my arms, everything else fell away. The betrayal, the anger, the fear, all of it dissolved in the face of this tiny, perfect human being. She's beautiful, James whispered, his finger stroking Sophia's cheek. Claire, she's perfect. For a moment, just a moment, I wanted to believe it was real, that he actually loved us, that the man in the hallway had been someone else. Then my phone buzzed, a text from a number I didn't recognize. Congratulations on the baby, can't wait to start our life together. Soon! M. Melissa had sent it to James's number, but somehow it came to mine. A mistake, a glorious damning mistake. James hadn't seen it. He was too focused on Sophia. I took a screenshot, added it to my evidence folder. The trust fund released the next day, exactly as scheduled. $5 million deposited into my separate account, my grandmother's legacy, meant to provide security for me and any children I might have. James didn't know the money had already arrived. I'd had the bank statements redirected to my office. I spent 3 days in the hospital recovering. James visited daily, bringing flowers, taking photos with Sophia, posting them on social media with captions about how blessed he was. Melissa sent a gift basket. For my goddaughter and her amazing mother, the card read. Can't wait to be part of this journey. On the 4th day, I came home. James had cleaned the apartment, prepared the nursery, bought extra diapers. He was trying so hard. That night, after I'd put Sophia down in her bassinet beside our bed, James sat on the edge of the mattress. Claire, we need to talk. Here it was, right on schedule. What about? I asked, even though I knew. About us, about our marriage. I waited. I think we've grown apart. I don't know if I can do this anymore. Do what? My voice was steady. Be a husband, be a father? That's not fair. I love Sophia, but you and we're not happy. I'm happy, I said. Or I was. Claire, please, don't make this harder than it needs to be. We can do this amicably. Split everything fairly. I'll still be a father to Sophia. We can co-parent. Lots of people do it. When did you decide this, James? Before or after I gave birth? He had the decency to look uncomfortable. It's been building for a while. How long? 18 months. His eyes widened, just slightly, but I saw it. What are you talking about? I'm talking about Melissa. I'm talking about emails and hotel rooms and stolen money. I'm talking about you planning my life with another woman while I was pregnant with your child. The color drained from his face. Claire, save it! I stood up, even though my body ached from the C-section. I heard you? At the baby shower, in the hallway. I heard everything. James stood too, his hands raised. Whatever you think you heard, I think I heard my husband and my best friend plotting to wait until I gave birth, steal my inheritance, and leave me to raise our daughter alone. That's what I think I heard. You're postpartum, you're emotional, you're not thinking clearly. Don't. My voice was ice. Don't you dare try to gaslight me. I'm a lawyer, James, a damn good one. And I've been gathering evidence since the moment I heard you in that hallway. His expression changed. The concerned husband melted away, leaving something colder. What kind of evidence? Everything. Emails, texts, photos, bank statements, your joint account with Melissa, the money you've been stealing from our household account, the hotels, the restaurants, all of it. James sat back down, his head in his hands. Claire, please, let me explain. There's nothing to explain. You married me for my father's money, you stayed with me for my trust fund, and now that you think you can cash in, you're ready to leave. It's actually quite simple. I did love you once, he said quietly. Maybe, but you love money more. Sophia made a small noise from her bassinet. We both looked at her. She was sleeping peacefully, unaware that her parents' marriage was imploding around her. What are you going to do? James asked. I pulled an envelope from my bedside drawer. Inside were papers I'd had Patricia prepare. You're going to sign these divorce papers. You're going to waive all claims to any of my property, my trust fund, and any future earnings. You're going to agree to supervise visitation with Sophia until she's old enough for proper custody arrangements, and you're going to do it tonight. And if I don't, then tomorrow morning I file these papers in court along with every piece of evidence I've collected. Your affair becomes public record. Your financial fraud becomes public record, and I press charges for theft of marital assets. You'll be fighting a criminal case and a divorce simultaneously. Your name will be destroyed. No one in Manhattan will ever trust you with their marketing again. You're bluffing! I picked up my phone and opened my email. Patricia, send the filing to the courthouse. Criminal complaint, too. Wait! James lunged for the phone. Wait! Don't send it! I held the phone away. Sign the papers. This isn't fair. Sophia is my daughter, too. You should have thought about that before you decided your mistress was more important than your family. James looked at the envelope in my hand. If I sign, what do I get? You get to walk away without criminal charges. You get supervised visits with your daughter. You get to keep your dignity, such as it is. And you get out of my apartment tonight. Claire, please. Those are the terms, James. Take them or leave them. He took them. At midnight, James Mitchell signed away all rights to my property, my money, and daily access to his daughter. Patricia had included a clause requiring him to pay child support based on imputed income of $200,000 annually, even though he only made $85,000. His affair and financial misconduct made him an unfit negotiator. By 1 a.m., James had packed 2 suitcases and left the apartment. I changed the locks immediately. If this story is making your blood boil like mine was, make sure you're subscribed and hit that notification bell so you don't miss what happens next. Trust me, the revenge gets so much better. Your support means everything to this channel. The next morning, I called Melissa. Claire, how are you feeling? How's Sophia? Her voice was saccharine sweet. Can you come over? I need to talk to you about something. Of course. Give me an hour. She arrived with more flowers and a stuffed elephant. For my goddaughter, she cooed, setting them on the coffee table. I remained seated on the sofa, Sophia asleep in my arms. Melissa, James and I are getting divorced. Her eyes widened. What? No, what happened? He's been having an affair for 18 months. Oh my God, Claire, I'm so sorry. She sat beside me, her hand on my arm. Do you know who it is? Yes. Who? You. The mask slipped, just for a second. Then she laughed, but it sounded forced. Claire, what are you talking about? That's crazy. Is it? Then explain the emails, the hotels, the bank account, the text message you accidentally sent to my phone congratulating James on starting your life together. Melissa stood up quickly. I don't have to listen to this. You're clearly not well. Postpartum does things to women. Get out of my apartment. Claire, get out before I call the police. Melissa grabbed her purse, her face twisted with anger. You know what? Fine. James was right about you. You're cold. You're all about work and money. You don't know how to love anybody. He's better off with me. Really? Because last I checked, James signed papers last night, giving up all claims to see me or my money. He's staying in a hotel, alone. So if you're waiting for him to come running to you, I'd suggest you don't hold your breath. You're lying. I pulled out my phone and showed her the signed documents. Read them yourself. Melissa's face went white. He wouldn't. He did. Because when it came down to choosing between facing criminal charges or signing divorce papers, he chose self-preservation, just like he'd choose it over you if the situation required it. You vindictive. Careful, I interrupted. I'm still deciding whether to file charges against you for conspiracy to commit fraud. Turns out planning to steal someone's inheritance makes you an accessory. And that joint bank account you opened with my money? That's theft. So I'd suggest you leave now and pray I don't decide to pursue it. Melissa fled. She left the flowers and the elephant. I threw them both in the trash. The divorce was finalized 6 months later. James contested nothing because he couldn't. Every piece of evidence was irrefutable. The judge granted me full physical custody, with James receiving supervised visitation every other weekend. The judge was particularly harsh about the affair during pregnancy and the financial misconduct. Mr. Mitchell, the judge said, you have shown profound disregard for your family's well-being. You will pay $4,200 monthly in child support. You will have no claim to any of your ex-wife's property or assets, and your visitation will be supervised until Sophia is 5 years old, at which point we'll revisit the arrangement. James tried to appeal. His lawyer filed motion after motion. All denied. Melissa tried to contact me several times. I blocked her number, her email, and her social media. She was dead to me. Through Marcus, I heard rumors. James and Melissa had stayed together for about 6 weeks after the divorce filing. Then Melissa had found out James was already on dating apps, looking for another wealthy woman to target. She'd confronted him. They'd fought. She'd thrown him out of her apartment. James was last seen working at a small marketing firm in New Jersey. His fancy Manhattan life was over. Melissa had to move to a cheaper apartment in Queens when I made it clear to our mutual friends what she'd done. She lost most of her social circle. She was no longer invited to the gallery openings and charity brunches she'd loved so much. As for me, I thrived. Sophia grew into a happy, healthy baby. She started sleeping through the night at 4 months. She smiled at 6 months. She said mama at 10 months. My law practice flourished. Without the stress of a failing marriage, I took on bigger cases, won impressive settlements, and earned a reputation as one of Manhattan's fiercest family law attorneys. Women who'd been betrayed sought me out specifically because they knew I understood. I bought a new apartment, larger and brighter than the Tribeca place. Sophia had her own room, with a wall of windows overlooking Central Park. My mother helped with childcare. So did my sister. I hired a wonderful nanny named Rosa who loved Sophia like her own grandchild. James saw Sophia every other weekend, always supervised by a court-appointed monitor. The visits were fine. Sophia accepted them as normal because she'd never known anything different. When she asked why Daddy didn't live with us, I told her the truth in age-appropriate terms. Mommy and Daddy love you very much, but we're happier living separately. And that's okay. Lots of families look different. At 2 years old, Sophia was too young to understand betrayal or revenge. She only knew love, and she had plenty of it. From the people who actually deserved to give it. I never told her the full story. Maybe someday I would, when she was old enough to understand. Or maybe I wouldn't. Maybe it would be enough for her to grow up seeing her mother as strong, independent, and unafraid. 1 year after the divorce, I received an email from James. Claire, I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. I know what I did was unforgivable. I want you to know I regret everything. Not because I lost the money or the apartment or the life we had. I regret it because I lost you and Sophia. I see her every other weekend and she's amazing. She's smart and funny and beautiful, and I know that's all because of you. I was a fool. I threw away something real for something that was always an illusion. I hope someday you can forgive me, even if I can never forgive myself. James. I read it once, then I deleted it. Forgiveness wasn't on the table. Not today. Maybe not ever. Some betrayals are too deep. Some wounds don't heal just because time passes. What I had instead was better than forgiveness. I had peace. I had my daughter. I had my career. I had my dignity. I had chosen myself and Sophia over trying to salvage something that was already dead. And that was enough. 3 years after that baby shower, I stood in my new apartment watching Sophia play with blocks in a shaft of morning sunlight. She was 3 years old now, talking in full sentences, asking a million questions, loving life, with the uncomplicated joy only children possess. My phone rang. It was Marcus. Claire, I thought you'd want to know. James got engaged. Good for him, I said. And I meant it. To a woman whose family owns a chain of furniture stores worth about $20 million. I laughed. Of course he did. Melissa's apparently still single, working at a tech startup in Brooklyn. I hope she's happy, I said. I didn't mean that as much, but I was working on it. After I hung up, I looked at my daughter. Sophia had built a tall tower of blocks and was clapping with pride. Mama, look, I made it so big. I see it, baby. You're so talented. She ran to me, throwing her small arms around my legs. I love you, Mama. I love you too, sweetheart, more than anything. That night, after Sophia was asleep, I stood on my balcony looking out at Manhattan. The city glittered with a million lights, each one representing a life, a story, a choice. I thought about the woman I'd been at that baby shower 3 years ago. Naive, trusting, blind to the betrayal happening right in front of me. I thought about James and Melissa, thinking they were so clever, thinking they had it all figured out. They'd underestimated me. They'd underestimated what a mother would do to protect her child. They'd underestimated what a woman with resources and determination could accomplish when she stopped trusting and started investigating. The revenge I'd taken wasn't violent or illegal. It was simply the truth, presented, clearly and irrefutably. I'd let their own actions speak for themselves, and in the end, they'd destroyed themselves far more effectively than I ever could have. Thank you for staying until the end. If this story gave you the justice you needed to see, check out the other videos on screen. They're just as satisfying. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? See you in the next story. I closed my eyes and breathed in the cool night air. Behind me, through the open balcony door, I could hear the soft sound of Sophia's breathing through the baby monitor. My daughter was safe. My life was mine. And the people who'd tried to take everything from me had nothing. That wasn't revenge. That was justice. And it was sweet. Or so I thought. The call came on a Tuesday morning, exactly 3 years and 2 months after the divorce was finalized. I was in my office at Hartwell & Associates reviewing documents for a custody case when my secretary buzzed through. Ms. Mitchell, there's a woman here to see you. She doesn't have an appointment, but she says it's urgent. Her name is Victoria Chen. I frowned. I didn't know anyone named Victoria Chen. Did she say what it's regarding? She says it's about your ex-husband and Melissa Foster. My hand froze over the keyboard. I hadn't heard those names spoken aloud in my office in over a year. Send her in. The woman who entered was in her late 30s, impeccably dressed in a navy suit that screamed old money. Her black hair was pulled into a severe bun, and her eyes were red-rimmed, but determined. Ms. Mitchell, thank you for seeing me without an appointment. She sat down without being invited, clutching a leather portfolio. My name is Victoria Chen. I'm engaged to James Mitchell. The woman Marcus had told me about, the furniture store heiress. Congratulations, I said neutrally, but I'm not sure why you're here. Because I need to know the truth. Victoria opened the portfolio and pulled out a stack of papers. James told me his first marriage ended because you were incompatible. He said you were cold, focused only on your career, and that you pushed him away. He said the divorce was mutual. Is that so? Then yesterday, I was going through some boxes in his storage unit. We're planning to move in together, and I found these. She spread the papers across my desk. Emails, the same ones I'd collected 3 years ago. He kept copies. Why would he keep copies of emails with his mistress unless he was proud of what he'd done? I looked at the emails without touching them. Ms. Chen. Victoria, please. Victoria, I'm not sure what you want me to tell you. I want you to tell me the truth, because if James lied about his first marriage, what else is he lying about? Her voice cracked. I'm 38 years old. I want children. I want a family. My parents adore James. We're planning a wedding for next summer. But these emails... She pressed her fingers to her temples. They mention a trust fund. Your trust fund. They talk about waiting until after your baby was born to divorce you. They refer to you as an ATM and a meal ticket. That sounds accurate, I said calmly. Victoria looked up, her eyes desperate. Is it true? All of it? I leaned back in my chair. This woman had done nothing to me. She was, in fact, about to make the same mistake I had made. The decent thing would be to help her. But part of me, the part that still burned with cold anger when I thought about what James and Melissa had done, wanted to let her walk into the same trap. Let James destroy another life. Let him prove what he really was. Then I looked at the photo on my desk. Sophia at her 3rd birthday party, frosting on her nose, laughing at something Rosa had said. I couldn't let another woman go through what I had, not when I had the power to stop it. It's all true, I said. James married me because my father owned this law firm. He stayed married to me because he found out about my grandmother's trust fund. He had an affair with my best friend for 18 months while I was pregnant. They planned to divorce me immediately after the trust fund vested, which was the day after I gave birth. I overheard them discussing their plan at my baby shower. Victoria's face went white. Baby shower? He and Melissa were kissing in the hallway of my apartment while 30 women celebrated my pregnancy in the next room. They thought I was in the bathroom. Instead, I was listening to every word. Oh my God. I gathered evidence for 3 weeks. Emails, surveillance photos, bank records showing he'd been stealing from our joint account to fund his relationship with Melissa. The night I came home from the hospital with our daughter, he tried to ask for a divorce. I confronted him with everything I'd found. He signed divorce papers that night rather than face criminal charges for fraud. Victoria was crying now, silently, tears streaming down her perfectly made-up face. I should have known. When something seems too good to be true. How did you meet? At a charity gala, my family's furniture company was one of the sponsors. James was there with some marketing clients. He pursued me, aggressively. Flowers, gifts, romantic dinners. He seemed so devoted. She laughed bitterly. Just like he did with you, I'm guessing. Exactly like that. My father did a background check when we got engaged, but James's divorce was sealed. The records just showed it was finalized, nothing else. Dad said James seemed like a solid guy who'd had a marriage that didn't work out. It happens. Victoria wiped her eyes. I'm such an idiot. No, you're a woman who wanted to believe someone loved you. That doesn't make you an idiot. That makes you human. What should I do? I pulled a business card from my desk drawer. This is Patricia Simmons. She's the best divorce attorney in Manhattan. But since you're not married yet, you don't need her. What you need to do is leave. Today, block his number. Don't give him a chance to explain or convince you to stay. Men like James are masters of manipulation. They'll tell you exactly what you need to hear to get what they want. Victoria took the card with trembling fingers. Will he come after me? For my money? Not if you're smart. You're not married. He has no legal claim to anything. Change your locks. Tell your family. Make sure everyone knows why you're leaving so he can't spin some story about you being crazy or unstable. He'll try, though, won't he? To get me back? Probably. He needs money. That's what he does. He finds wealthy women and extracts everything he can from them. I paused. How much have you given him already? Victoria looked away. 50,000 for his business expansion. He said his marketing firm needed capital. There is no marketing firm expansion. He works at a small company in New Jersey making maybe 90,000 a year. That 50,000 is gone. Consider it tuition for a very expensive lesson. I feel so stupid. Don't. I'm a lawyer. I'm trained to spot liars and con artists. And he fooled me for 6 years. You're not stupid. He's just very, very good at what he does. Victoria stood, gathering her papers. Thank you for being honest with me. I know you didn't have to. Yes, I did. No woman deserves what James Mitchell does to people. After she left, I sat at my desk for a long time, staring at nothing. Then I picked up my phone and called Marcus. I need you to do something for me. Name it. I need you to document everything about James Mitchell's pattern of behavior. Every woman he's targeted, every lie he's told, every dollar he's stolen. I want a complete dossier. What are you planning, Claire? I'm planning to make sure he never does this to anyone else again. Marcus was thorough. Within 2 weeks, he'd uncovered a pattern that made my blood run cold. I wasn't James's first victim. I wasn't even his second. There was Emma Rodriguez, a real estate developer he'd dated for 3 years before me. She'd broken up with him when she discovered he'd taken out credit cards in her name and run up $80,000 in debt. She'd paid it off rather than press charges because she'd been too humiliated to admit she'd been conned. There was Sarah Kim, a doctor he'd been engaged to before Emma. She'd called off the wedding when her accountant noticed suspicious transfers from her investment account. James had convinced her to give him access for joint financial planning. He'd stolen $120,000 before she noticed. And there were 2 more before them. 5 women total, spanning 12 years. All wealthy, all professional, all left financially and emotionally devastated. James Mitchell wasn't just a cheater. He was a serial con artist who targeted successful women, made them fall in love with him, and systematically robbed them. The pattern was clear. He'd identify a target, pursue her relentlessly, become whatever she needed him to be, gain access to her finances, and extract as much money as possible. When the woman got suspicious or he found a wealthier target, he'd move on. I was just the one he'd married, the one whose trust fund was big enough to make marriage worth the investment of time. "This is criminal," Patricia said when I showed her Marcus's report. "This is fraud, identity theft, and financial elder abuse in Sarah's case. Her mother's account was compromised too. Can we prosecute?" The statute of limitations has passed on most of it. But Claire, if we can establish a pattern, if we can get these women to testify, we might be able to bring charges on the more recent incidents. And at the very least, we can make sure every woman in Manhattan knows what he is. I thought about Victoria Chen, about Emma and Sarah and all the others, about the next woman James would target when Victoria left him. Let's do it! All of it! The next 3 months were a whirlwind of legal action. Patricia helped me contact each of James's victims. One by one, they agreed to speak with prosecutors. Emma, Sarah. A woman named Patricia Gates who'd been engaged to James before Sarah. They all had the same story. The whirlwind romance, the declarations of love, the slow financial manipulation, the gaslighting when they questioned discrepancies, the sudden departure when they got too close to the truth. Victoria joined us too. After leaving James, she'd discovered he'd stolen $85,000 from her in the 3 months they'd been engaged. He'd convinced her to invest in a real estate opportunity that didn't exist. The money had simply disappeared into his personal account. The Manhattan District Attorney's Office was very interested. James Mitchell had defrauded women of over $400,000 over 12 years. That was enough for multiple felony counts. The arrest happened on a Thursday morning. I wasn't there. I'd learned about it from Patricia. But Marcus had an investigator friend in the NYPD who sent me the details. James had been at his office in New Jersey when 2 detectives walked in. They'd arrested him in front of his colleagues, handcuffed him, and perp-walked him out of the building. His bail was set at $500,000. He couldn't make it. His wealthy fiancée was gone. His access to easy money had evaporated. He sat in Rikers Island for 3 weeks before his parents, retired teachers living in Ohio, mortgaged their house to bail him out. The trial was scheduled for 6 months later, but James's lawyer convinced him to take a plea deal. 5 years in prison for fraud, identity theft, and grand larceny. Restitution of $420,000 to his victims. I attended the sentencing hearing. I sat in the back row of the courtroom, dressed in a black suit, my hair pulled back severely. I wanted James to see me. I wanted him to know I'd been the one who'd brought his entire house of cards crashing down. When the bailiff brought him in, James looked terrible. He'd lost weight. His hair was greasy. His suit, probably borrowed, hung on his frame. He scanned the courtroom and his eyes landed on me. For a moment, we just stared at each other. Then I smiled. Not a warm smile, a cold, satisfied smile that said, "I won." The judge read the sentence. 5 years. James's mother sobbed in the front row. His father sat stone-faced. "Mr. Mitchell," the judge said, "you have preyed upon successful, independent women and systematically defrauded them. You have shown no remorse, no accountability, and no indication that you would stop this behavior if given the opportunity. This sentence reflects the seriousness of your crimes and the necessity of protecting the public from predators like you." James was led away in handcuffs. He didn't look back. After the hearing, I stood outside the courthouse with Patricia, Victoria, Emma, and Sarah. We'd become unlikely friends through this process, bound together by the man who'd tried to destroy each of us. "Thank you," Emma said, her hand on my arm, "for pushing for this. I never thought I'd see justice." "We all deserved it," I replied. "Every single one of us." Victoria looked at the courthouse doors where James had just disappeared. 5 years isn't enough for what he did. "No," I agreed, "but it's something. And his record is public now. When he gets out, every woman he approaches will be able to Google his name and see exactly what he is." That evening, I picked up Sophia from Rosa's apartment. My daughter was 4 now, starting pre-K in the fall, and full of endless energy and questions. "Mama, can we get ice cream?" she asked as we walked home hand in hand. "It's almost dinner time, sweetie." "Please? Just a little bit?" I looked down at her hopeful face. "Okay, just a little bit." We stopped at the ice cream shop on the corner. Sophia got chocolate chip. I got coffee. We sat at a small table by the window, and I watched my daughter carefully eat her ice cream, trying not to drip on her dress. "Mama, why are you smiling?" Sophia asked. "Because I'm happy, baby." "Why?" "Because I'm here with you, and that's all I need to be happy." Sophia grinned, showing teeth with chocolate smeared on them. I'm happy too. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. You destroyed my son's life. I hope you're proud of yourself. He made mistakes, but he didn't deserve prison. You're a vindictive, cold woman who couldn't forgive. That innocent child of yours will grow up knowing her mother is cruel. Rebecca Mitchell. James's mother had found my number. I read the text once, then deleted it and blocked the number. Sophia was still eating her ice cream, completely unaware of the venom that had just been directed at her mother. I wasn't cold. I wasn't vindictive. I was protecting myself and every other woman James would have targeted if I'd let him walk away unpunished. That night, after I'd put Sophia to bed, I received an email from Melissa. The subject line read, "I'm sorry." I almost deleted it without reading. Then curiosity got the better of me. Claire, I know you'll never forgive me, and I don't expect you to, but I need to tell you that I'm sorry. Really, truly sorry. What James and I did was unforgivable. I was selfish, greedy, and cruel. I betrayed the best friend I'd ever had for a man who didn't even love me. I've spent the last 3 years trying to understand why I did it. Jealousy, maybe? You had everything. The career, the family, the respect. I wanted what you had, so I tried to take it. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just wanted you to know that I know what I did was wrong. I've been in therapy. I've tried to become a better person. I heard about James's arrest. I heard about the other women. I realized that I wasn't special to him. I was just another Mark, another fool, just like you were, except you were smart enough to see it and fight back. I just kept lying to myself. I lost you. I lost our entire friend group. I lost my reputation. I deserve all of it. I just wanted you to know that you were right about everything, and I'm sorry. Melissa? I read the email 3 times. Part of me wanted to respond with all the rage I'd been carrying for 3 years. Part of me wanted to tell her exactly what her betrayal had cost me. The sleepless nights, the panic attacks, the fear that I'd never trust anyone again. But I didn't respond at all. I just closed the email and went to bed. Melissa's apology didn't change anything. It didn't undo the betrayal. It didn't make us friends again. It was just words, sent into the void, looking for absolution I wasn't capable of giving. Maybe someday I would be, but not today. 6 months passed. James was in prison. Melissa was blocked from my life. Victoria Chen sent me a Christmas card with a photo of her and a new boyfriend. A kind-looking man who, according to the card, was a middle school science teacher who'd never been married and had no interest in her family's money. My practice continued to thrive. I'd taken on 2 new partners and expanded into a larger office space. Hartwell and Associates was now one of the top family law firms in Manhattan. Sophia started pre-K and loved it. She made friends easily, had playdate after playdate, and came home each day with new stories and artwork. James's supervised visits continued, now in a prison visitation room. The court monitor noted that Sophia was polite but distant with her father. She called him daddy, but without warmth. She answered his questions but didn't elaborate. She was dutiful, but not loving. She doesn't know him, the monitor told me after one visit. To her, he's just the man she has to visit every other Saturday. There's no bond. I felt guilty about that sometimes. But then I'd remember James standing in that hallway with Melissa, calling me his ATM, planning to abandon me days after I gave birth. And the guilt would fade. Sophia had me. She had Rosa. She had her grandmother and her aunt. She had love and stability and security. She didn't need a father who saw her as a burden and her mother as a wallet. Then, on an ordinary Tuesday in June, everything changed again. I was in my office when Patricia called. Claire, you need to see this. I'm sending you a link. The link was to a news article. Convicted con man claims ex-wife framed him in prison interview. My stomach dropped as I clicked through to the article. There was a photo of James in his prison uniform, looking gaunt and haunted. The interview had been conducted by some true crime podcast that specialized in wrongfully convicted inmates. I read the transcript with growing fury. I made mistakes, James said in the interview. I had an affair. I wasn't a perfect husband, but my ex-wife, Claire, she took a bad situation and turned it into something criminal. She was furious that I'd fallen out of love with her, so she fabricated evidence, coerced other women into making false statements, and used her money and connections to have me imprisoned. I'm not a con artist. I'm a man who married the wrong woman and paid the price when she decided to destroy me. The podcast host had asked, what about the other women who testified against you? Emma Rodriguez, Sarah Kim, Victoria Chen? Claire got to them, James replied smoothly. She's powerful, connected, wealthy. She convinced them that I'd stolen from them when really there were just misunderstandings, bad investments, or loans I was planning to repay. But Claire twisted everything, hired investigators to harass these women, and eventually convinced them to testify against me. It's all a lie built on her vindictiveness. I called Patricia immediately. Have you seen this? I'm already drafting a response. This is defamation, Claire. He's accusing you of criminal conspiracy. Can we sue him? He has no money, but we can demand a retraction from the podcast. And I'm going to file a complaint with the corrections department. Inmates aren't supposed to do media interviews without permission. But the damage was already done. The podcast had thousands of listeners. By that evening, clips were circulating on social media. Some people believed James. They always do. There's always an audience for wealthy woman destroys innocent man stories. I received hate mail. Not from James's mother this time, but from strangers who'd heard the podcast and decided I was the villain. You rich women think you can ruin men's lives just because they break up with you, one email read. James Mitchell deserves better. I hope karma gets you. My assistant started screening my calls. My social media accounts were flooded with comments. Some defending me, some attacking me, most from people who didn't know anything beyond what they'd heard in a 40-minute podcast episode. Sophia's pre-K teacher pulled me aside one morning. Ms. Mitchell, I wanted to let you know that another parent mentioned something about your ex-husband being in prison. Some of the other mothers were talking about it in the parking lot. I just thought you should know. The whispers had reached my daughter's school. Parents who'd smiled at me in pickup line were now eyeing me with suspicion. That night, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering if I'd made a mistake. Maybe I should have just let James walk away. Maybe pursuing justice had cost me more than it was worth. Then I remembered Victoria's face when she'd discovered James's theft. I remembered Emma telling me she'd thought about suicide after James destroyed her credit. I remembered Sarah saying she'd lost her faith in humanity after James betrayed her. No, I'd done the right thing. James belonged in prison, and if people wanted to believe his lies, that was their problem, not mine. The next morning, I did something I'd never done before. I wrote an op-ed and sent it to the New York Times. The title was, Why I Prosecuted My Ex-Husband, a Story About Protecting Women from Predators. I didn't pull any punches. I laid out everything, the affair, the baby shower conversation, the evidence I'd gathered, the discovery of his pattern of fraud. I included statements from Emma, Sarah, and Victoria, all of whom had agreed to be quoted. I wrote, James Mitchell wants the world to believe he's a victim of a vindictive ex-wife. The truth is far simpler. He's a con artist who targeted successful women, manipulated them into trusting him, and systematically stole from them. When I discovered his plans to defraud me of my inheritance, I had a choice. I could stay silent, let him walk away with whatever he could take, and move on with my life. Or I could fight back, not just for myself, but for every woman he'd hurt and every woman he would hurt in the future. I chose to fight. I don't regret that choice. James Mitchell is in prison because he committed crimes, multiple crimes, against multiple women over many years. That's not vindictiveness, that's justice. The op-ed ran 3 days later. It went viral. Within hours, I was receiving interview requests from morning shows, podcasts, and news outlets. I declined most of them, but I did agree to one interview with a women's issues podcast that had a reputation for serious, thoughtful journalism. The host, a woman named Jennifer Marks, asked me directly, Some people say you went too far, that a man having an affair shouldn't result in prison time. What do you say to that? I agree, I replied. An affair alone shouldn't result in prison time, but fraud, theft, and identity theft should. And that's what James Mitchell did. He didn't just cheat on me. He systematically defrauded 5 women of over $400,000. He opened credit cards in someone's name without permission. He forged documents. He lied to obtain money under false pretenses. Those are crimes, real crimes with real victims. Do you think society takes financial crimes against women seriously enough? Absolutely not. When men defraud corporations or investors, we call them white-collar criminals and send them to prison. But when men defraud women they're in relationships with, we call it a bad breakup and tell the victims to move on. That double standard needs to end. The interview struck a chord. Women started sharing their own stories of financial abuse by partners and ex-partners. The hashtag #ChoixBelieve. Women started trending, not in reference to sexual assault this time, but in reference to financial crimes. James's podcast backfired spectacularly. Instead of garnering sympathy, it sparked a national conversation about how society dismisses women's financial victimization. The prosecutor who'd handled James's case issued a statement reaffirming the conviction and detailing the evidence that had led to the plea deal. 5 women came forward with their own stories of being targeted by men with patterns similar to James's, and slowly the tide turned. The hate mail stopped. The suspicious looks from other pre-K parents disappeared. My life returned to normal. Better than normal, actually. I started getting calls from women who'd been financially abused by partners, asking if I could represent them. My practice evolved to specialize not just in divorce, but in cases involving financial fraud within relationships. I hired 2 more attorneys who specialized in forensic accounting. We created a division of the firm dedicated to helping women recover assets stolen by partners. We called it the Victoria Project, named after Victoria Chen, who'd had the courage to walk away before it was too late. 5 years passed. I barely noticed them going by. Sophia grew from a preschooler to a confident 9-year-old with her mother's determination and none of her father's deceptiveness. She was smart, kind, and completely unaware of the battles I'd fought to give her a stable life. James was released from prison when Sophia was 8. I got a notification from the Victims Services Office. He served his full sentence, no early release due to poor behavior in prison. I told Sophia her father was coming home and that he'd be able to see her outside of the prison now. She'd accepted this news the way she accepted everything, with practical questions and no emotional response. "Will he live with us?" she'd asked. "No, sweetheart, Daddy will have his own place." "Okay, can Rosa make spaghetti tonight?" That was the extent of her concern about her father's release. James moved back to Ohio where his parents lived. He got a job as a sales clerk at a furniture store, Victoria Chen's family's competitor, ironically. He was required to check in with a parole officer monthly and pay $800 a month in restitution to his victims until the full amount was repaid. At his current salary, that would take him approximately 40 years. He maintained his visitation with Sophia, now unsupervised though, still only every other weekend. He flew to New York once a month to see her. The visits were awkward but civil. Sophia would come home and report factually. "Daddy took me to the zoo. We saw penguins, then we had lunch. Then he brought me home." No excitement, no sadness, just facts. James had missed too much of her childhood to be anything more than a stranger she was obligated to be polite to. On Sophia's 9th birthday, I threw her a party at our apartment, 20 kids from her school, pizza, games, and a ridiculous amount of cake. James didn't come, he hadn't been invited, and I'd been clear in our custody arrangement that birthday parties were my domain. But he sent a gift, a necklace with her initial on it. Sophia opened it, said, "That's nice," put it in her jewelry box, and went back to playing with her friends. That evening, after all the guests had left and Sophia was asleep, surrounded by new toys and stuffed animals, I sat in my home office with a glass of wine. I thought about the woman I'd been 9 years ago at that baby shower. Naive, trusting, pregnant with the child who now slept peacefully down the hall. I thought about everything that had happened since: the betrayal, the divorce, the investigation, the trial, the podcast, the vindication. It had been a long, exhausting journey, but I'd survived it. More than survived. I'd thrived. My daughter was happy and healthy. My career was flourishing. I'd helped dozens of women recover from financial abuse. I'd made a difference. And James? James was exactly where he belonged. Not because I was vindictive or cruel, but because he'd committed crimes and been held accountable. That was all this had ever been about. Accountability. My phone buzzed with an email. I almost ignored it, then saw the sender's name. Emma Rodriguez. "Claire, I wanted you to know that I just made the final restitution payment James owed me. After 5 years, I finally got back every dollar he stole. I couldn't have done that without you pushing for justice. Thank you for being brave enough to fight when the rest of us were too scared or ashamed. You changed my life. Emma." I smiled and closed the email. Then I went to check on Sophia one more time before bed. She was sprawled across her mattress, blankets tangled around her legs, one arm hanging off the bed. She looked so peaceful, so innocent, so blissfully unaware of everything I'd done to protect her. I kissed her forehead gently. "I love you, baby girl," I whispered. "More than anything in this world." As I walked back to my bedroom, I felt something I hadn't felt in 9 years. Complete peace. The storm had passed, the battles were won, the enemies were defeated. All that remained was life. Beautiful, complicated, messy, wonderful life. And I was ready to live it.